Do we want to go over the gist of the comments for the archive?
Yeah,
For the
probably do
okay,
that. Start off where I guess the first thing and work our way down.
yep. Let me get there. I didn't actually download it yet.
All right.
I just kind of I looked at it on my work computer, but I didn't hop on. I've been kind of updating the flowcharts based on his feedback. They may still need to be changed if we decide to add another punishment for failure and or add abilities.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't. It's not going to be too bad since the rest of the game works. How did the larger?
That actually worked pretty well. I mean, the only thing which I didn't have a problem with it was how the other regions were set up with the weather and the resources, the tiles, I guess. I didn't really run into any problems. But I mean, we haven't done any level designing, so I don't even know if there's a better way to do it. But I kind of made it so if a weather card was active, then it's kind of like a puzzle for them to figure out.
Yep,
So
and that kind of goes back into the strategy
yeah,
element that he noticed. And I think that we'll have to wait to see what he says with where's my show comments button?
oh yeah, asking him about. So he hasn't responded back to that yet. But,
Yep. So changes in a separate window. Right. Should just pop up, right? Oh goodness. Stop project previous next review pane instant message.
it should. I don't know. I don't know. Are you in the GDD with me?
Oh, I was in um, the GDD review where you
Oh,
had all the comments stuck.
oh,
So
and then all right. Yeah. Let's see. First comment. First one he had was a rationale for the symmetry of the game.
now this he didn't say that he said our rationale behind what we said was wrong. He didn't
Yeah.
say that it
Well,
was.
yeah, because I did ask him about um, was that the symmetry or the summation? One of the two, but I mean, our game we did say it had elements of both, but yeah, that's right. He did say every game can have elements of both, but it'll focus more on one or the other. So, um, just have it worded.
Uh, it's got to be based on the player. What do you say? These game theory attributes are a result of your game mechanics, not of player choice. Okay, so ours is asymmetrical. Um, uh,
So it's more so on the player's choice.
well, it's based on the mechanics, not their choices. Well, I mean, it's asymmetrical because each region, like drawing from the forest region, does not affect
Yeah,
the river region. That's why it's asymmetrical.
which
Uh,
we did have. Is that correct? I think that was somewhere else we put that.
yeah. So we'll just put. Well, there's no. Yeah.
So Stranded is an asymmetrical game because
Let me
um,
get to the GDD real quick too. Updated GDD. Not. I was changing it on the review document, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would I change it there? Um, okay, here we go. Gathering resources in one region does not affect the available resources. Well, yeah.
I mean, we don't have the same resources in every environment or region now.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I might shoot him or I would suggest shooting him an email
Yeah.
about that to make sure that, say, this is kind of what we're thinking, but we're still missing the point, or we feel like we're not where we need to be on that question. Because usually an asymmetrical game is like you have one player against a whole lot of other players. With us, it's the players versus the environment.
yeah.
Um, I'm going to go ahead and resolve that. One region not affect the available resources in, I'm going to say, other regions instead of another.
Yeah. I'll ask him that.
Okay. And then I'll flag it again for comment. Flag for follow-up. The one thing that I was glad to see, for anybody who's watching this, is a lot of the comments that he made are already being fixed.
Yeah. I came in, started working on them.
Mm-hmm.
Now he minus 1 point for orphaned header for summation. I don't know.
Orphaned header.
I don't know what does he mean by that.
I can't see the heading styles. I think that this is supposed to be like a heading 2, maybe? Heading 7. In the world. I'm confused. Okay.
I mean, summation section is. We didn't change the word or anything like that. It's set up like everything else.
Well, if you look at it, it looks like it's a different font almost. And
No, it's Cambria, like all the other ones. It's normal text.
it says orphaned header. So what is that? I don't even know what that means.
I'll ask him about that too, because I think we had something like that in the last document also.
Yeah. So, the weird thing is, like, if I'm looking in the styles,
Yeah.
and I don't, like, half of my heading stuff is gone. Like, I don't have the normal, headings, 1, 2, and 3 that you can pick from.
Yeah.
So that may be something to ask him. Okay, so we'll leave that one. So the next comment we had was...
Which, I was actually surprised when I opened this up. Yeah, I think, I went scrolling through the page. It didn't say anything about our table of contents, so that must have been done correctly.
Mm-hmm. One thing we were worried about.
Yeah. Or the cover page.
Yeah.
Our design history, our story, the characters,
Mm-hmm.
The pieces they control, until we get to game theory is when comments started coming in. Feature set was good, and we got down to suffrage, which I thought it was funny how he said it, but
Yeah, the Prince. If you guys have never seen The Princess Bride, I highly recommend it. It is an amazing film.
I think who's in that? I'm pretty sure I've seen that with my girlfriend.
Carrie Elwes, Elwise. Andre the Giant was in it.
Yeah.
Um,
So, but I didn't realize that we were using that kind of suffrage.
Yeah.
Because when I kept typing it in, it would tell me to change it,
Hmm.
correct it to suffering, but I was like, suffering counter doesn't sound appealing, so I was like, suffrage is the right word. But
So we got.
that's what I went through and changed everything and put it as Ender.
Okay. So suffering, like women's suffrage. Another thing that we got hit pretty hard was our cards and the designs and the lack of
Yeah.
illustrations.
See, and
Um,
I didn't think that was going to be something that we really needed to focus on.
I didn't either, but we know for next time.
Yeah.
The good news is, we've got a card template. Honestly, I think that's what we should go with
Uh,
this
y-
late in the game.
yeah. I mean, I was messing around with it today because I figured I don't know if we're gonna have illustrations or pictures on it.
Mm.
Um, just because we cut the decks down so they're shorter, and I guess just to save ink and all that for people. I
Mhm.
was thinking about because you had two boxes, maybe one box will be the goal and the other box will be the fail. And so I was messing around on GIMP with it, and I can't for the life of me duplicate the top box so I can put it on the bottom.
Oh, well, it's because it's just a stroke. The frame itself is that, and then I filled the layer with a paint bucket.
Uh,
And honestly, I figured with that little frame,
yeah,
we could just have a symbol for the card. Because we like maybe have a water symbol, like a symbol for each resource that has a card,
yeah,
and then the survival goals we could just do. I don't know, like a book or a page from, or just something that looks like a page, or just maybe just a shield with an S on it. I don't care.
yeah. I was
But
thinking that can go up in like the upper right corner.
mhm. And that, like I said, that GIMP thing is completely editable. It's just GIMP is kind of a pain in the butt to work with.
Yeah, I mean, I tried making the frame and then duplicating, and I duplicated it, and when I try to drag it, it would make me drag the main background instead of that. So,
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. Whenever you're using the move tool,
yep,
there's a little thing on the side that has like move tool parameters or whatever.
yeah.
Make sure that the only move selected layer is checked.
I got move, pick a layer or guide or move active layer.
That's it. Move active layer.
Oh, okay. All right, our card's done.
You got it.
Yep, that's it.
All right. Well, make sure you send out the revised template then.
Yeah. I just want to change because we're gonna have to make a card for every goal we have and every card we have.
Yep.
I was thinking about that today, and I went through the other prototypes that he gave us, and the first one about the survival thing had that part missing, but the second part, they had paid like 4 or 5 pages that had templates to all the cards. So
Yep.
we'll have to do that.
Yeah. Now with that, since we have the card designed, we'll only be dragging and dropping text and
Yeah.
whatever icon we want to use.
Yeah. So now that I got the card layout, I can go through and do the text and save each one and put a symbol up in the corners.
Yeah. Well, let me know if you want me to do something on the other card sets or whatever, so it doesn't all fall on you.
Yeah. Yeah. We could. I can take the. I'll do the survival goals, and I guess the radio and the weather, and you could just do the resources.
Yeah, because it would just be a free card. We'd have a ×2 in the corner, a ×3, and a ×4.
Yeah, and I mean maybe those we can put, some kind of illustration.
Where that frame, I think we should, or at least if it's not an illustration, just some kind of simple. It could just be like a wave symbol for water or whatever,
Yeah.
and then I can just scale it and put it in where that little tag is.
We might
So
do that. If we got water, medical, cordage, and wood, we could do a water droplet, a medical cross,
Mm-hmm.
some like
A tree.
rope, yeah, tree, and like some rope or something.
Yeah, definitely. Then I can just put that in there.
All right. So,
So so if you want to
uh,
draw those, since you're the artist type person,
yeah,
that if you just want to draw those real quick and send me the JPEGs, I'll get started on that tomorrow and knock those out.
yeah. I can do that after we get after you leave the meeting.
Okay,
Give me a little time to do that. Pull out the art book.
there you go. Okay, so we said without this, the game design is incomplete.
Yeah.
We have fixed that.
Yep.
We've removed traps, we've removed fire tokens, and the tokens that we do have,
A value for.
we have values for, and we have numerical, the stuff.
Yeah. And I
Uh,
was thinking, if we have 18 cards, and they say plus one, plus or times 2, 3, and 4, would that give them? Would 20 tokens be enough, or should we, take the values of each card and all that, and figure, add them all up and use that many tokens? But I thought that would probably be, if we got 2,
yeah,
3, 4, that's what is that?
how many is that total?
That's 9 per card. So then you times that by 18. I felt like that would be way too many. And then again, we don't have any goals requiring them to have more than 10 of
Yeah.
an item. So I think 20 might be a little too much. We might cut that down to 15. If their goal is to only collect 10, when they get 10, then there's no need to collect more.
But you got to remember, they're only drawing one card. At this point, they're only drawing one card per search.
Yeah.
I don't think they're ever going to deck a region.
Yeah.
So I think we'll be fine. We should definitely test it and find out once we have the final playthrough rounds. But I think it'll be okay, because if they only have 4 rounds, unless we add abilities that make them able to draw like 4 cards at once,
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be an issue.
All right. And then we have the amount of cards per deck. I put that 18 quarters cards in deck.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
the pictures used instead of illustrations. I did not know about that auto deduction.
Yeah,
I don't think any of us saw it.
And I do understand where it comes from, because we have pretty much 2 board designs. The region design does not fit into that board. But I didn't, I thought this was just going to be, an idea of where we're heading with the board, not, an actual setup.
I did too, but apparently we were wrong.
Yeah.
But we know for next time. And the other good thing about this, guys, guys, if you're, watching this, our updated GDD with these changes will go towards our grade, so that will be higher.
Yeah.
I don't know how much. I mean, I think we could probably clear a B.
Yeah. He said you can get 2 or 2/3 of the points.
Mm-hmm. So I think, and even if we clear C, we'll be fine. I'm not too worried about not passing the class, because if you guys saw the class average, I mean, yeah, we're kind of down there in the 20s, but the highest, or the average, was a 52.
Yeah.
So we all sucked it up, or somebody did really good and we all sucked. So we are in good company, and we learned some things.
Yep. And then David messaged me, and he was like, "Well, we got an F." And I was like, I'm not going to look at it as a failing grade. I expected us to do not horrible, and I don't think it's horrible, but I expect us, as a first time, to have a lot of mistakes and errors. This is how we'll learn from them. So,
absolutely,
which is probably why he's going to let us be able to increase our grade with a revised version. So,
exactly, it's probably built that way, because he wrote in the comments that it's common for students to get a low score on their first run. So
yeah.
So it's okay, guys. We'll bounce back from it. So going down this comments, we have, the good job label, use Google Draw, whatever. We could probably make the map in Google Draw pretty easy, just by shapes.
Go into week 3 prototypes, and I have a standard board layout.
Did you? You're way ahead. Okay, so week 3, prototype ideas, standard board. You are awesome.
Took me a little while to get all those tiles to look nice and perfect, but I got it done.
Yep. I think what we'll do, the one thing that I would add would be change the white color to
On the background.
of the background. Yeah, but we can mess with that later. So yeah, all right. So that's done.
And
So we've got
the
that.
card. When we finish those, we'll just upload them in here.
Yep.
So.
And what we'll have to do is make sure we put a picture, like whenever we go up to the wood thing.
Yeah.
Is make sure that we have, the 3 cards that comprise the wood deck.
Yeah.
So, but we can do that. I'm not too worried about that. So we fixed that. The next thing, loss of clarity points, because there's no context for a lot of... Okay, so the turn sequence, we have pretty much fixed that, if you guys want to check it out. There may be a little change to what we have, depending on another comment that we'll read a little bit later, and I'll kind of go into that. But...
I think, because he highlighted every time we put -1 fatigue token, he said we did not explain that on what a fatigue token is.
Yeah, we didn't explain that in the features.
And I think I did go through. I did add a base in the general rules because I'm sure he's going to want to know what that. He did ask, where's about that.
Mm-hmm.
I figured if we had a storage spot on the map, we should note something about that.
We got that.
Yeah.
We should also make sure that we talk about going back to the base as part of the general features of drop of the contribution feature.
Yeah.
So we can talk about that here in a little bit. So, but that is coming together. So again, not too worried about that. And the thing is, too, guys, once we fix a lot of these problems with the GDD, the actual rule book is just taking this information and presenting it in a different way. It's not any new information. It's not any, and a lot of stuff from the GDD we'll be able to pretty much just copy and paste over and then change a little bit. So if you guys are wondering why besides the fact that we got an F, but again, it's not a failure as of, kind of our worth on the assignment. It's we had the wrong idea. We're learning from it, and we are making it better. So I don't want you guys to, beat yourself up or anything. It is what it is, and I think it's going to end up being a good thing because without it, we may not have found a lot of issues in our game. So, so don't worry about that. All right, Tyler, where do you want to go next?
I am down. He had underneath where he highlighted -1 fatigue token. He said where we have the random element is applied because our characters are not experienced survivors. He said random elements are fine, but that cannot dominate in this game. Part of your collecting combat system is gathering supplies. You do not want this completely random. Remember, the instructions are to create a strategy game. Strategies rely more on skill and good strategy than on luck, which the only luck or random I believe we added was to the resource cards, and I believe that was it.
Yep. Well, we have the random dice roll for food. That's a straight dice roll. But about the thing about that is, he said you don't want it to be completely random.
Yeah.
And I think by changing the regions to how they are now, adding spaces and adding a little bit more meaning to the movements.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking the other day about a strategy, like if I had one strategy that could work in our game, because I was kind of playtesting it and it worked for me, is if I'm worried about not getting back to the base within my turns, I may choose to go deeper into a region first, like on my first turn, use most of my movement tokens as just movement, and then come back gathering resources, because that way, I don't go to a space, scavenge it, and then can't do that space. I have to keep kind of going. I might go to the end
Yeah.
and work my way forward. So there's a multitude of different strategies that you can do to acquire resources.
Yeah. You can send one person in to go further in the region and another one to come in and clear out the beginning. So player one doesn't have to spend their points searching and moving.
Mm-hmm. So there's player choice there. Also using the weather is kind of a puzzle, because the players, they see, hey, I can't move this space. I have to go around this way.
Yeah.
They plan their movements a little bit different. Instead of rolling for whether or not you get a resource, when you land on a card and you choose to, or land on a space and you choose to search, you will always get a resource. The only random part of it is how much you get.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. I know Tyler, we talked and sent an email to the instructor just to make sure on that. But I think that's okay, because you can't have, because otherwise, if you didn't have some sort of random element, you would just be cherry picking.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be good either.
And I don't want people farming for materials in one spot. And then the other option I was thinking was, they go land on a resource thing. What if we just had like a token tile underneath that to flip it over, and that'll say a value on it, and that's what they get. Then they just, I guess, collect that as the token itself. But I thought, it's still random, because they're just going to be randomly distributed on the board. Mm-hmm. And
it's still similar to a card draw. It's just wherever you get to first.
Yeah, and the only other problem I have with that is, if they're setting up the board, they're going to be able to see what number token it is, so they're probably going to put that down closer to the entrance on the board.
Yep.
So I figured this way, it's not fixed for them, or they don't get to rig the game.
Mm-hmm.
Unless
I really
rig the cards.
Yeah. I mean, I really like the way that we have it set up now. I really like the idea of having spaces be scavenged and not usable until the month is over. I think that will have some interesting gameplay, and it prevents people from just sitting there and using their action points to farm.
Yeah.
So I think that fixed that problem. Now this part right here, characters should be able to gain experience in the game if experience is an important factor. I don't really know. Oh, that's talking about kind of progression, if players resources to craft a trap, but we're really not messing with that.
Yeah.
And since he's experienced survival, outlast, and novice, we're all trying to do it together as a co-op game. Said this is fine. Adding multiplier further. Okay, yeah. So that shows that, because even the multiplier is semi-random based on that roll, so he's okay with that. Deleted that comment. How is all this tracked? So this is where we're going to have to go into talking about going back to the base, putting your tokens in the base to get rid of your backpack. Up in the features and the general or features. This is all in the turn sequence, right?
No, this. Yes, I believe it is. Where was I? Turn sequence. Yes, sure. It's all in the turn sequence. So.
Just have to talk when we talk about resources contributed. We can talk about dropping off at the base, and the only resources in the base are.
Yeah, I mean, in the general rules, I did put for the base, players can drop the resources off at any time, but only if they pass through the base. Mm-hmm. And then the storage would be, the storage is where players drop off their. Let me say that. The storage is where players dropped resources.
Mm-hmm. And the main other thing we got counted off on was our logical progression.
Yeah.
Because I guess he wants to have... Because the turn sequence, I guess, is supposed to have most of your rules in it. And then any rules that don't take place directly in the turn sequence go under general rules. So I guess the backpack would be... Because you would still be using that on your turn. Okie dokie. So radio components, cards. So if they're using, so they're using cards to track resources. How are the cards placed somewhere specific? Yeah, so that's when we talk about the contribution. So that will fix that part. Da, 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 da. Consists of 2 water and it says deleted. What?
Yeah, I didn't get.
Oh, all right, whatever. Okay, I'm not seeing this on the board. Concepts. This was each. Okay, yeah. So, that'll be on the concepts. We have spaces for that. This completely random. Yeah. So that was based on our rolls.
Yeah.
Now we've kind of cut that to where you just pick the card and you're fine. If you can make it to the space, that's your reward.
Yep.
The medical materials, again, we took that out. What's going on next? Failed survival goals. This should be part of the turn sequence since this check is done in a specific place in your sequence. Okay. So I think we did that in our revised. We mentioned the failed goals in the turn sequence. Let me check on that. I see that. What's the main focus? General rules turn sequence. Survival phase. After each player completes for much return the players that return to base count stored resource tokens to. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have to change. Yeah, so we did note that.
Okay.
Check to see if 3 consecutive survivals completed. Radio component. Okay, yeah. So we got that. And we'll pretty up the grammar on the whole thing later. I gotta say, man, I really like how you did that board. I just clicked over by mistake.
Yeah, I just pretty much copied what I drew out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's what I was kind of talking about. Comment number 20. And they were talking about the fail goal, the conditions worsen.
Yeah.
So originally we had a hit with fatigue, but we kind of felt that it was too hard on players. Maybe not. Maybe we should add that in and see how it goes, because it could go one of two ways. It could work, it could kind of work, or it could be a crazy slippery slope that you can't recover from.
Yeah. We might be able to. I mean, because we did bump up the base fatigue to 5.
Yeah.
And 4, you can probably, like I said, the only thing I don't want them to do is, if they fail one goal and they don't have enough fatigue to complete another goal, so they're going to fail that one, and it's just going to be the same results over and over. If they get unlucky drawing, cards where they need a lot of resources. So if it's a card with lower resources, I could see that happening. So again, it all depends on what is drawn. So I think we might add that back in.
Because I'm with you on that. That's why I said it could either, because if it kind of works to where sometimes it limits, sometimes it doesn't. I think we'll be okay. But if it stacks, I don't think it should stack. If we have it in there, it should be for the next round. But what happens if they fail the goal for the next round? I mean,
well, that's what I'm saying. If they fail one goal, and then the next goal is for them to go collect 10 of 2 things. I don't see them getting that goal complete with 4 fatigue, and if there's a weather card in effect, so they'll probably end up failing that goal as well, and so they could end up getting another bad card and fail that goal also, and by that point.
What if we go back to what Justin said, where it only affects one person, but it's not based on a die roll, because I want to keep the randomness as far down as possible.
Yeah, which I think that was the original idea I had. Was only one person suffers from the injury, so they're the only one that gets -1 fatigue, and that was based on a die roll. I think we did discuss whoever had the least amount of resources would be the one affected, or whoever had the most. I would think the most, that's someone who did the most work. So, working more, doing more things puts at a higher risk of injuries. But then I feel that that person, you know, did everything. So why should they
Be
have it?
punished.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think we could try whoever has the lowest resources.
Mhm.
But then
And
what
if
if someone's tied? Did they determine that by a roll?
Yeah, that at that point, I think it's okay to
Okay.
put the roll back in there, and that way, even if they have two bad rounds, they still have two people that can.
Yeah. And they
Uh,
have, you know, we didn't put a level or a round cap, so if they fail two rolls in a row or rounds in a row, I mean that's -2 on the endure counter, but they still have a chance to get three in a row. So
mhm. So okay, so we'll have that back in there. Um, and it's funny that he mentioned that I think you missed some opportunities. I'm like, that's what we wanted to do in the beginning,
yeah,
but everything else was so broken. And I think, guys, that's the just wait. Now here's some more. Yeah, down here at the bottom, comment 21. That's just kind of talking about how many of each, how are they used in the game.
yeah,
More randomness, 27 die the game food. Um,
but that's fixed.
that's fixed. So we've pretty much fixed all his comments. Now the flow chart is something that I'm working on right now. Um, some of these blocks are more than one specific. I haven't done the setup. I'm working on the movement. I've pseudo fixed the other two.
Okay.
I left them a little bit open, based if we wanted to have the abilities, if because I need to check for that in the movement and things of that nature. But they're easy to close. So the survival goals. I thought that I named a flowchart survival, but it should have been survival goals. I fixed that one. When it says start your charges in the upper left corner, I did that
Okay.
for the survival one. The turn phases I have also updated. Mainly, the main thing was he said I'm condensing movement too much, so I have started a separate flowchart for that that will link into the other ones. The last slanted parallelogram. What I should have done is just say no and then go to end turn instead of going back to the fatigue check.
Yeah.
I fixed that. And then the trap thing, we cut traps, so it's a non-issue.
Right.
And the rest of it really is just making sure that we state, because comment 28, how many pieces. We stated that above, but we need to state that here as well. Collect
Yeah, I just
all.
added that.
Perfect.
And then
But then,
that question was useless, so I deleted it.
okay, perfect. And then that was it.
Yeah.
So we are, as far as the revised copy, we're off to, I think we're about 80% there.
Yep.
We have a few things, some art assets. I know it's difficult for Justin because his availability is at the end of the week, but
Yeah.
based on the time we have, we can't really wait that long. So, but I think you said Justin's working on some of the character stuff, so I'm kind of excited to see what he comes up with that.
So, and I'll have some things to use as backups. Now, I was thinking about standees. I mean, if we can manage to get some kind of standees done, that's great. If not, I think, as a replacement or backup, we'll just use like sorry pieces or something like that.
Well, yeah, he said that like for people that are making miniature games or using standees, that you don't necessarily have to create them, but the gameplay should work without them.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, as long as we have the characters drawn and part of the assets, that's fine.
Yeah.
So cool. And then are we changing the name?
David said yes. I say yes. So if we get one more person to say yes, then
Well, you know me. I love the idea of.
yeah. So if two other people said no, well,
They lose the vote.
2 out of 3. So sorry, but I told Dave, it kind of fits more. They're on an island. stranded. So
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get out of Word and jump back into the good data. So,
so the only thing I got that we need to change, add the fatigue token, explain that, and the -1 fatigue, which shouldn't be that challenging.
no. And I think that if we have that mechanic, I don't necessarily think we need to mess with or try to balance abilities at this point, since it's Wednesday. I've been also watching a hour and a half long crash course in how to design templates, or not templates, but layouts with Word.
Okay.
So what I've seen so far is pretty good. If it ends up being what we need, I'll post it to the Skype chat so everybody can check it out.
A layout for the cards.
No, layout for the rule book.
Oh, for the yeah. I went online and looked at some rule books and found a template for one. I'm debating if we should use that or just come up with our own, or use the template, but change it around a little bit.
Yeah, we can. Anything can be inspired by anything else. So
Yeah.
we're the cool. The weird thing about you and I is we attack the same thing, but we do it from different angles. It all works out. That's pretty cool. And I found that for a lot of our teammates as well. It's especially with Jeffrey coming up with some of the idea for the weather last night was fantastic.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like that rather than a season affecting every terrain or the whole terrain. I think certain areas.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what is the main focus? I've got 20 minutes before I have to jump off. Players' main focus in this game is survival. They'll need to collect resources to. Okay, so he said all this stuff was okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And he didn't say anything negative about our survival cards, so they're good. But we did go through and update them a little more, and I'll make sure I go back and add -1 fatigue to all of them.
Now these the card images, right, would go under the general features, right? The actual resources cards. I guess.
In this or in the rulebook?
Well, in the GDD.
Yeah, I would think so. Maybe just like one to give it.
Yeah, just idea. One. And then the other two would be with the actual deck.
Yeah.
Under the game components section. Okay, so we got scavenge tokens. We're not using fatigue tokens. We're just saying they can count it out, right?
Yeah, we can do that. You just gotta. I mean, if it's strategy, use your brain.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember that you got 5, and whoever has 4 has 4.
Mm-hmm. And I think having it. Now, here's a question that I think would have to put on there about losing the fatigue on consecutive issues or consecutive fails.
Yeah.
What if we had the person with the lowest or that contributed the lowest amount of resources takes that first fatigue hit, and then after that, if they fail again, it's the player to that person's right, so that so nobody's ever getting doubled up on fatigue, and it just kind of goes around and starts to affect everybody.
So every consecutive fail, it goes to the counterclockwise.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
Or clockwise.
Yeah, either way. All right, so game setup, shuffle and sort cards into their respective region piles. We're going to put that as noted on the game board. I'm going to say, because that's just the resource cards, the other ones are, since they're different, I'll add another bullet for them.
I put in, and it's labeled too, so they can always look at that, but...
Yeah. I'm just
the files are the weather, survival, and radio cards.
Mhm. And those can be all bumped into one. So we have like resources, then we have game components. I'm just after as much as we got counted off for completeness and clarity.
Yeah.
Remaining radio component survival goals and weather. It's not how you spell weather. I miss Jeffrey. Us. Survival goals and weather cards into their respective positions. No. Noted on game board. Man, I'm tired today. Stayed up way too late last night working on stuff.
So did I. I had to take another little nap before we started up.
Okay, all players draw. I'm gonna put all players since we don't have them drawing cards anymore.
No.
So all players pick a character. But I don't even think we should have character sheets. I mean, we could just do their bios in the rule book.
Yeah. So to say, players pick a character and place. I don't want to say them. I want to say their and you in the base.
Yep. Each player receives 2 food tokens and 2 water tokens for their survival pack.
Yes.
Let's see, so we go for their survival pack. And then we should probably attach a picture of that survival pack, like just the cropped.
Okay.
What that looks like underneath there.
Or we could say, see, board.
There you go. I like the way you think, sir.
You know, one thing I did notice he went through, and this shows how very well he is about detail, is in one of the spots on our GGD we had, like what I have here, 2 periods next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely overmissed it, like it blended in so well, but he found it and deducted 1 point for that.
Yep.
I was like, oh, got to be a little more precise for the editing.
Mm-hmm. That's one thing, like whenever I'm doing a Word document, especially when we did a bunch of reports for the last couple of classes, I turned on the paragraph view.
Yeah.
So I could see all the spaces. Because sometimes I do double spaces in between my sentences, because that's how I learned how to type.
Yeah.
Back in the day, and you're not supposed to do that, so I can go through and see if I have double spaces or not, and that's kind of good. Okay, so flip monthly goal and weather card, and from here we'll say see game component section for more details. If the rain or high tide card is chosen, players will roll a 6-sided die and add the effects. Okay, so that's something that needs to be changed.
Yeah.
How did we put it down in the The thingy-ma-doo?
I think it was just whatever whatever you flip. You flip the rain, it's gonna say, um, oh, all right. This is what we decided we're gonna do. It's gonna say X, Y, and Z, and whatever they roll is
Which one?
what area is affected. So the
Yep.
players will roll a 6-sided die and add effects based on add effects to the labeled tile based on what's rolled.
And you can be like, see game components for more details, or specific rules for more details. Okie dokie. I have
Which
completely...
that I don't see that as so much random.
No, because you're going to get something.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it is random depending on the roll. What something is going to be affected.
Yep. And it will affect your strategy. So, well, okay, so we have features, rules and mechanics. Where are we? I just completely lost the game setup.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm going cross-eyed. Okay, begin round 1. Okay, so that should be good. All right, turn sequence. Players need to complete 4 semi-rounds. Weeks to complete 1. Should we have another name for these, like semi-rounds and or small rounds and large rounds?
I kind of like just the some. I mean, we could call them weeks and months, but somewhere we just have to note what it is, which would probably be.
Or maybe just some, instead of like, we have semi-rounds and then rounds. So basically, we just need to change this to something. Just
Yeah.
to differentiate, because I can see people being confused. I'm like, is a semi-round a round?
Yeah, I think I did note somewhere that 4 semi-rounds equaled 1 round.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, if I didn't, we could go find some spots where that needs to be added in, or we could just say they're weeks and months, but note that, um, note that a week is 4 rounds.
But we have it labeled here. Just we could just refer to it as weeks and months throughout the rest of the document. Since we said 4 semi-rounds.
Now, did you say anything like that first paragraph we have? Right, he didn't say. I figured this is explaining more of the rules, like the round's not exactly a turn sequence.
Well, you need it to complete a turn sequence, though.
Yeah, true.
And what he got us on was logical steps.
Yeah.
So we have, if you're stepping through the document, you introduce the rounds and stuff here, and then you expand upon it, or the components upon it down here in the general rule set. Okay. Play takes place during several months, each month broken down to 4. See, okay. At the beginning of each month, a new survival goal card is chosen, as well as a weather condition that will affect.
What if we said changed it from round to phase?
Yeah, that works.
So we'll say 4 rounds
for 1 phase.
Yep.
Each month is 4 rounds. At the beginning of each month, new survival card is chosen, as well as a weather condition that will affect certain spaces within the region noted on card. And then here, I'm going to add just a little thing. This is where we can put a region image
Okay.
of one of them. Since it talks about, okay. Oh, that's what the problem was. We never defined what this is. Like, players choose what region to explore. It's just like one fatigue. What does that mean? So we can talk about, so we just have to talk about the actions.
Yeah, so every action player takes, moving, searching,
Hunting was another one.
yep, hunting. Players
Subtract.
subtract one from one to well, we'll just say every action player takes cost. Takes cost one for two players, which I think that would be in the general rules.
Well, it's part of it. Actually, what we can do is put it right here. It says it talks about their actions. Players. Actually, let me just grab what you had right here. Every action player takes moves that costs a fatigue point. Every player starts with a total available amount. You said 4 or 5?
5. Should we say that they're not tokens or anything? You know, players have to keep track of that in their head or tally marks or something like that.
Yeah.
So make that another 15 points are tracked by tally marks or other methods player.
I think other methods I'm going to put pen and paper just for specificity.
Yeah.
Pen and paper. Oops. There you go. That the player comes up with. And we'll say fatigue is replenished at. Was it?
Yeah, we'll do it at the beginning of every month.
So they only have. I thought it was at the beginning of every round.
Well,
like once at the end of their turn, they have 5 fatigues next round.
So say they fail a goal, only for one round, they'll be affected by it.
No, I think it would be their
until the next monthly goal card is drawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be one phase. Fatigue is replenished at the end of or beginning of next phase.
Mm-hmm. Well, but it's if I use in one turn, when my turn starts again within that phase, I still have 5 actions.
Yeah. So it's like you fail a goal. Everyone starts with 5 points. So except whoever has the least amount. So let's say player 1 had the least amount, so he's affected. So player 2, 3, and 4 would have 20 points total in one phase, and player 1 would only have 16. So,
but they could only spend
And then, but then at the end of that month, and when they start the next phase or month, is when he'll go back up to 20, and everyone else will stay there unless they failed. Then the clock person will get it.
We'll just say unless a goal is failed. We'll say C.
So if it's at their next turn, then that's saying, if I have 4 fatigue, I'll spend those 4 to go to a region, and then my next turn comes around, I'll have the 5 back, which we want them to keep the 4 fatigue for the whole month. So fatigue is replenished at the beginning of a new phase.
So that way it's like I have 5 fatigue points, and then I use 5 in one turn. Next turn comes around, I use 5 fatigue points. If I'm one of those unlucky people to have a fail, I can only use 4 during my turn.
So if you failed, let's say goal 3, the lowest person would only have 4 fatigue available for goal 4 or month 4, phase 4, and then when month 5 comes around, they'll go back up to 5 fatigue. Like they'll be cured of whatever injury or something they had. And if they failed month 4, then the next person clockwise in them will be affected, regardless if they had the lowest, then they'll be affected. But if they had the highest, they should still be affected.
You know what we could do is just have it continually go and stack around, and when somebody got to the point where they only had 1 fatigue, all players lose. That could be another lose condition, because if they're failing that many goals in a row, they'll probably do that. And what time is it? I have got to go.
All right.
I will probably, if you're still on, around like 10:30, 11 o'clock, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I should be. I'm just gonna come in here, add those new things we talked about.
Okay, sounds good.
But if not, we'll have another meeting tomorrow night.
Sounds good. And in the meantime, I'll, based on what you write, we'll finish up the flow charts and start cranking out those cards.
Yeah, I'll try to work on that tonight too.
Sounds good, man. Well, don't kill yourself,
I won't.
So, and we'll get it together. I think it'll be good. I think it's going to be a good game.
Yep. So.
All right, man. Well, thank you for all your hard work.
Yep. And I'll see you either later or tomorrow.
Sounds good.
If you're tired, man, you got work and stuff to do in the morning, then I suggest go to sleep. Your health and family comes first. So,
In that case, I might just do that.
Yeah. Get some rest. I'm not going to stay up late either, so I might, maybe midnight, around somewhere like that. So.
Sounds good. All right.
All right, man. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.